Abanawa Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Sheba Raka Thumb Kwam Yasharala. Give them something they could dance to. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without them. I sing along. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Always got my friends on with my Z. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends on. Yeah, never leave home without my friends on. And book of numbers 15 and 38 is shown. I'm supposed to wear them all throughout a generation. When you got them on, you set apart from these other nations. Gotta let your light shine, let them know it's on. When the 1/3 awaken, we'll be going home. Got on my friends with my Z's and they hanging long. When I run into my Aki, I'm there hollering shalom. So I never leave home without my friends on. If I go and hit the mall, I got my friends on. Even if I'm going to a ball, I got my friends on. With the border blue ribbon and the all white linen on. I don't feel right if I ain't got them on. Like a pair of shoes, there's no excuse to leave them home. So you never catch me out without my friends on. Cause we the church, got them on my garment and on every shirt. Yeah, never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without them. I sing along. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Always got my friends on with my Z.
These be the words.
That's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends on.
Yeah, my fringes, I be rocking, I be stomping, never stopping, merely rocking. Why you acting out of pocket?
On with my Z. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends on. Yeah, never leave home without my friends on. And book of numbers 15 and 38 is shown. I'm supposed to wear them all throughout a generation. When you got them on, you set apart from these other nations. Gotta let your light shine, let them know it's on. When the 1/3 awaken, we'll be going home. Got on my friends with my Z's and they hanging long. When I run into my Aki, I'm there hollering shalom. So I never leave home without my friends on. If I go and hit the mall, I got my friends on. Even if I'm going to a ball, I got my friends on. With the border blue ribbon and the all white linen on. I don't feel right if I ain't got them on. Like a pair of shoes, there's no excuse to leave them home. So you never catch me out without my friends on. Cause we the church, got them on my garment and on every shirt. Yeah, never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without them. I sing along. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Always got my friends on with my Z. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends on.
Yeah, my fringes, I be rocking, I be stomping, never stopping, merely rocking. Why you acting out of pocket? Why you gotta do that? Keep commandments easy peasy, it ain't greedy. Keep it flowing like some gravy, do the work. I ain't lazy. Keep commandments, understanding, never slacking. You'll never ever catch me with the eyes. Always giving my praises to Holy Father Abba. Catch me in the streets with my fringes on. Yeah.
Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without them. I sing along. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Always got my friends on with my Z. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends on. Yeah.
Never leave home without my friends. You won't never catch me lacking cause I'm always representing. Got fake Jews all up in they feelings. Yeah, I see you staring at me. I suggest you mind your business on. Never let swine touch my lips.
Can you hear me?
So if you eat pork, baby, you can never get some more.
Everybody can hear also.
Don't exist. Man, this word like a sword, spit your soul from your spirit. You ain't keeping all the laws, don't you hit my phone. I ain't Rodney King, I don't wanna get along. I done told the slave master I ain't working on the Sabbath. Winning soul Frenches all up on my cry loud, spare not wisdom with the knowledge. I can't sugarcoat it for you, I ain't Willy Wonka. Drip so hard, baby, this that holy water. And it's Kwame Yasharella till we hit the coffin. Ooh.
Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without my friends zone. Woo. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without them. I sing along. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Always got my friends zone with my Z. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends zone. Yeah. Give them something they could dance to. Give them something they could dance to. Remember, never leave home without your friends zone. Yeah.
One beat maker, the hit maker, the hit maker, the hit maker, the hit maker.
Where you wanna be?
Abanawa Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Sheba rock a thumb. Kwame Yasharella. Give them something they could dance to. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without my friends zone. Never leave home without them. I sing along. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Always got my friends on with my Z. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Cause I never leave home without my friends on. Yeah, never leave home without my friends on. And book of numbers 15 and 38 is shown. I'm supposed to wear them all throughout a generation. When you got them on, you set apart from these other nations. Gotta let your light shine, let them know it's on. When the 1/3 awaken, we'll be going home. Got on my friends with my Z's and they hanging long. When I run into my Akium, they hollering shalom. So I never leave home without my friends on. If I go and hit the mall, I got my friends on. Even if I'm going to a ball, I got my friends on. With the border blue ribbon and the all white linen on. I don't feel right if I ain't got them on. Like a pair of shoes, there's no excuse to leave them home. So you never catch me out without my friends on. Cause we the church, got them on my garment and on every shirt. Yeah, never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on. Never leave home without my friends on.
Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaska, Saba'a, Ratazaka, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashamaya, Nathanawa, Nakam, Kal, Yawam, Basalak Nawa, Kabawak Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawak Ganawa, Wala'a, Tamaya Anawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Ra, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatapa Ara, Da'awalam, Ba'asham, Amashiach, Yahushai, Tawara, Aman.
The book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. For if ye forgive men the trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if ye forgive not men the trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Bahashem, Hamashiach Yahawashai, Thawada, Thamyad, Amen.
Amen. Madim, besides Yahshua.
Alors, yeah.
Shabbat Shalom Yasharala.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shamash Gashar. I praise the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for another day, another Shabbat day, indeed. The Israel can come together in holy convocation as per the covenant that the Most High made for fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we are the Light of Zion, located down in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I'm the Elder Bishop Lapalal. To my left is
Yakanan.
Captain Yakanan and Khan. I praise the Most High by Shamash Gawashah. We're going to continue the book of Kings today. Today we started 1 Kings chapter 10. But before we do that, we're going to start with Colossians 3 verse 17.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Adon HaMashiach, giving thanks to the Father, to God and the Father by Him.
Right. Whatever you do in word or deed, meaning what? Whatever you say or whatever action you partake in, make sure they're in consistency with the scriptures, the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, and the testimony and the teaching of the Mashiach Yahushua. Understand? That's the order from the Most High coming down to His people Israel, and that's the path that we should take. Like I said in 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 10 and verse 1. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Most High, she came to prove him with hard questions.
Right. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Most High. See, she heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Most High. She didn't hear about Solomon concerning his own actions, his own context. She heard of Solomon concerning the name of the Most High. So that's what we said. That's why we just read Colossians 3:17. Whatever you do, make sure it's in consistency with the words of the Most High, the Mashiach Yahushua.
Verse 2.
Read again. Read verse 1 again.
1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 1. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Most High, she came to prove him with hard questions.
Right, because Solomon was known for his wisdom. The fame of Solomon was what? Was the wisdom and his governance of Israel. What did Solomon do when he first came into power? He prayed to the Most High and asked the Most High for what? Not for riches, and not for death of his enemies, or for long life, but for what? But for wisdom. And the Most High gave it to him in abundance. And because Solomon didn't ask for anything else besides wisdom, the Most High gave him other things besides wisdom, like riches. Understand? And he was known for his wisdom throughout all the earth. That people came to Solomon just to sit at his feet and so-called pick his brain. I mean, see if they can learn something from him. And that's exactly what happened with this. Read on.
Verse 2. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train.
Right, and that's why the queen of Sheba, she came to prove queen of Sheba came to Solomon for the same reason. And she came to Solomon with a very great train. What does it mean, a very great train? Yeah, big entourage. Because she was a very powerful person in her own realm, in her own zone, in her own kingdom. And for a person of that magnitude to come to Solomon, you have to know that Solomon, his fame was renowned throughout all the earth. Read.
With camels that bear spices, and with very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart.
Right. So she came to Solomon very gifts, with camels, with all kind of spices. With very much gold and precious stones. Kind of stuff that's fit for a king. And when she came to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. So whatever she had in her mind, she communicated to Solomon. We've heard this about you. You've heard that you've done this. We heard of you advised the advisor gave the such and such and such, and all these things come to pass. So she communicated all that to Solomon. Read on.
Verse 3. And Solomon told her all her questions, there was not anything hid from the king, which he told her not.
Right. So whatever she asked the king, King Solomon, he answered the question in much detail. There was not anything that the king didn't tell her that she wanted to know. You know?
And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table.
Right. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built. What house did Solomon build? He built the temple, right? And he also built his own personal house, his palace. Because Solomon came into rulership when? 973 BC. Understand? After his father. He was the third king to rule over Israel, to rule over the United Kingdom of Israel. You know what? All the 12 tribes. Saul was the first, reigned for 40 years. David, Solomon's father, reigned for 40 years. And now Solomon was a king. Started in 973 BC.
Make it louder, that's it.
Right?
Verse 5.
As a matter of fact, get first, go to chapter 6. Let me see something. Yeah, get that. First Kings chapter 6 and 1.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 6 and verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt.
Right, that, okay, read on.
In the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Most High.
Right, that's when Solomon started building the 480th year after we were after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt. In the 4th year of Solomon's reign. So Solomon started reigning in 973 BC. So he started building the temple in 969 BC. Okay.
Verse 2. And the house which King Solomon built for the Most High, the length thereof was 60 cubits.
Right, it's okay. This is going into the size of the house that Solomon built.
All right.
We just went there to see when he started building the house of the Most High. Read on. Go back to 1 Kings.
1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 4. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and the apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of the Most High, there was no more spirit in her.
Right, she was so overwhelmed, so impressed. Wow, she was I say, wow. You saw, she heard of Solomon's wisdom, and the house, and saw the house that they built, the splendor of the house, the design of the house, the layout of the house, and how organized the servants were. How his household was organized. Everyone was, was disciplined. She was amazed at how everything and everybody was in order. There was no more spirit left in her. Read on.
Verse 6. And she said to the king, It was a true report that I heard in my own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom.
Right. She said, it's true what I heard about you, Solomon, in my own land. Because your wisdom spread so far. Can you get a map up there of Sheba? Yeah, get a map of Sheba. So I have an idea where she came from. Geographically, So we can put it in perspective how far she traveled and all that, where Sheba was relative to Israel. Sheba right there. I want to see a map where the Sheba and Israel together, so we can have an idea. See the Sheba right there. This is who's that today? Sheba, right? Look at that. Israel is up there. So Sheba is to the south, very south of this is the Red Sea right there. Yeah. Very south of of Israel. Basically, Sheba is at the tip of the Red Sea. You know what I'm saying? That's where Sheba is, south of Israel. So you have Midian, Didan, Sheba. See that? Look at this map here. Show me this map right here. No, this one and this. Can I put them together? So we can see that Sheba, Arabia is a modern day Sheba. No. Those two maps you had up there. Sheba, the one out here. See Arabia? You see that for Sheba. Right, so Sheba basically is where a modern day Saudi Arabia is. See Arabia, the Sheba, the southern part of Saudi Arabia. Because back in those days, the time of when Solomon was ruling, all those places were controlled by Cush. Where Saudi Arabia is right now, that's where ancient day Cush used to rule. Understand? So when you read the Bible about, let's see about Ethiopia, in the Hebrew book it actually says Cush. Understand? And Cush was more than just where modern day Ethiopia is today. So Cush extended all over these territories, like the northeast of Africa, and into what we know today as so-called Middle East. The Cushite Empire was in those territories. So Sheba, you can see, was at the southern part of Saudi Arabia today. So we can have an idea where she came from to go to Israel. She went north to go to Israel. Go back to 1 Kings.
1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 6. And she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit, I believe not the words.
She didn't believe. She had to see for herself. Read on.
Until I came, and my eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told me.
Right, yeah, it was not an exaggeration at all.
Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard.
Wow.
Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom.
What the scripture says?
And that hear.
When a righteous man ruleth,
the people rejoice.
The people rejoice. Get that out. That's what King Sheba is attesting to right now, based on what you saw, and all the people acted and all that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
Right. When righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And Solomon, when he started ruling, was a righteous man, because we saw that Solomon was what? He communed with the Most High. He prayed to the Most High continually. He sacrificed and all that, and the Most High gave him wisdom. And Solomon governed the people according to the wisdom that the Most High gave him. Read on.
But when the wicked doth rule, the people mourn.
It's a different story now. That's what's going on right now. People are mourning. Go read on.
Verse 3. Whoso loveth wisdom rejoices.
I'm sorry, go back to 1 Kings.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 9.
Right.
Blessed be the Most High thy power, which delighteth in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel.
Right, see that? And the nations acknowledged that the Most High was the one in charge.
That's right.
He acknowledged that the Most High was the one who gave Solomon that wisdom and put him in the power of rulership. Understand? Read on.
Because the Most High loved Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king to do judgment and justice.
Right. So the Most High was a king that hided himself. the nations knew about the Most High based on the history of Israel. Because they knew that it had to be the Most High who gave Israel an authority and power to emerge from what? A situation of servitude and slavery and bondage in Egypt to prominence, yes, to royal governance, to a position of superpower. They know because they got to do that for them. And no other nations came from that situation, from that position, from the gutter to a superpower, like we did. So they knew it had to be the Most High who did all that. And what? And they acknowledged the Most High for that. Read on.
Verse 10, 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 10. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices, very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon.
Right, so she gave Solomon a lot of gifts. Precious stones, 120 talents of gold. What's a talent? A talent is like a measurement or a weight of gold. Will you get it up?
No.
Go ahead. Get it. This is what talent. What's in the measurement of a talent? There's some idea how much gold she gives Solomon. Maybe the Bible dictionary could give us an idea. Talent, yeah. Talent, weight, simple English Wikipedia free, how much?
I don't have it, the
Did it say?
No.
What year was that? 1 gram cost about $38 at this price of talent. So what a talent is a measurement of a weight. Okay. It doesn't tell us what it okay. I'm sorry, but we can say it's a measurement of gold.
Yeah.
What is it? How much is 1 ton? Okay. It's a measurement.
Yes, sir.
So weight. It was a lot of gold that she gave Solomon.
Verse 11. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. And the king made all the almug trees pillars for the house of the Most High, and for the king's house, harps also and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were seen unto this day.
Right, so besides all that the queen of Sheba gave to Solomon, Solomon also had a navy of ships, which last week, go back to that maps. Last week, we showed that the navy of ships was located on the sort of Edom. Right there also, the sort of Edom. That's where Solomon's navy was located, because David has captured all those territories. The Philistines, Hiram, Tyre, Zidon, and Edom, and all those places. Understand? Are you trying to get it? Yeah, you don't got to get it, boy. It's all right, No, it's what is that? We know the last week we went to that last week where the navy was with the navy of Solomon. But it was basically south of Edom. I read on.
Verse 13. And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desires.
Right, because Solomon also gave us Sheba. He answered all her questions. Plus, of course, she wanted some so-called souvenirs. She wanted that she was going to take back to her homeland and say, yes, look, I want to visit King Solomon. Look what I got. You know what I'm saying? Of course, she wanted to go back and impress her people. That she went to make the wisest man on earth, who Solomon was. Read it again, a verse.
1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 13. And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked.
Right. Whatever she asked, all the questions you wanted answered, read on.
Beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty.
Right. So Solomon also gave her some gifts. He wasn't stingy. She brought gold and precious stones and spices and all that. But Solomon also gave her something of his royal bounty. Read on.
So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants.
So she turned and went to her own country, into Sheba, which you just saw, was located in what we know today as Saudi Arabia. She was located at the southern tip of Saudi Arabia. I think that's where Yemen is today. Yeah, I think that's where Yemen is. Get a Yemen. Let me see where Yemen. I believe that's where Yemen is today. Let me see something. Yeah, see that? Yemen. Exactly. Yemen, Sheba. Exactly. Saudi Arabia, see, exactly. So Sheba, Yemen, the modern day Yemen is the ancient day Sheba. Yeah. That's where our kingdom was. And all those territories actually, in those times, was part of the Kushite Empire. But as we know, that Ishmael pushed with a lot of the Hamites in those Middle East, and also Northern Africa. Understand that? That goes back to the time of when Ishmael was one of the superpowers. So we can see that Sheba is in modern day Yemen is today. So she went back to her own country, she and her servants, because there's a lot of controversy going on, not just recently, over the years, who went back with Sheba, because a lot of people, especially the Rastafarians, are pushing the agenda that when she went back, when the Queen of Sheba went back to her land, she went back with the Ark of the Covenant. She went back with a lot of Levites. She went back with a lot of Israelites, which we can see right there. The scripture doesn't mention any of that. The scripture does not mention anything. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. That would be crazy. The Most High gave Solomon the wisdom to build the temple, right? Which was the house for the Ark of the Covenant. Why would the Most High then, at the same time, immediately after that, the Most High, because when Sheba came to visit Solomon, that was in the early stage of Solomon's rulership.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Why would the Most High then send the Ark of the Covenant to a strange country? After the Most High does give Solomon the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to build the temple, the house, the Ark of the Covenant. So we can see that that's why whatever you read in other books, make sure it's filtered through the scriptures. Make sure it's filtered through the scriptures, because there's a lot of theories and all that going on out there. And also that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. Look at that. Second Maccabees?
Yeah.
Again, get that. Second Maccabees 2, verse 2.
The book of 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 2. Mm-hmm. And how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Most High, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold.
Does it mention who the prophet is?
Yeah. The point is in verse 5. 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 5.
Okay.
And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave.
Right. So the prophet that's talking about is the prophet Jeremiah. So let's have an idea when the prophet Jeremiah was. Because the prophet Jeremiah was in the time of the Babylonian, before the temple was about to be destroyed. Because the temple was destroyed when? 586 BC. Understand? So all this was about that time. Understand? Read it from the verse 2 again.
The book of 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 2. And how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Most High.
Right. So the prophet, having given them the law, charged them, the prophet Jeremiah charged the Israelites that they should not forget the commandments of the Most High. Read on. And that's exactly what we do today. Charging you, our fellow Israelites out there, not to forget the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Because they're what? They endure forever. They haven't gone away. They weren't done away with. They are still here. And we are still to abide by them. That's our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That is what keeps us close to the Most High. Read.
And that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold.
Right. You shouldn't err in your mind when you see images of silver and gold. When you see the statues, when you see all the idols made up of the images, different images. Then you see these churches have erected. You have, in Brazil, you have this large statue of Caesar Borgia, where they try to push on the world that is a Mashiach Yahushua, which is a lie. Don't lose your mind over that. It's a lie. When you see all these churches have these statues on the premises saying that that's Michael, that's Raphael and all that. You know that's a lie. Read on.
With their ornaments, verse 3, and with other such speeches exhorted he them that the law should not depart from their hearts.
Right. And that's what we do when we go to teach our people in the streets. Or teach our people here. The law should not depart from your heart. Continually meditate in the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. When the Mashiach Yahushua was on earth, he told the people that himself that the laws were not done away with. Read on.
Verse 4. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet,
Jeremiah, read on,
being warned of the Most High, commended the tabernacle and the ark to go with him.
Right. See, the Most High warned Jeremiah to take the ark of the tabernacle, ark of the covenant with him. Read on.
As he went forth into the mountain.
Into the mountain. Read on.
Where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High.
What mountain was that? What mountain did Moses climb up into and saw the heritage of the Most High? What is the heritage of the Most High? Israel. Get Numbers 34.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, give me that. That's where Moses climbed. That's the mountain that Moses climbed into. When the Most High decreed that Moses was to be with his fathers. That was going to transition from the physical and earth back up into the spiritual with the Most High.
Verse 13, what is it? Verse 13?
Numbers, the last chapter, right?
Yeah, Numbers 30. Yeah, in Numbers chapter 34 or verse
34. Yeah.
The book of Numbers chapter 34 and verse 13. And Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, this is the land which ye shall inherit by lot, which the Most High commanded to give unto the 9 tribes and to the half tribe. For the
Hold on, let's see.
Numbers. I think it's in there. 24.
Is it Deuteronomy? Oh, but I got it.
Right?
Deuteronomy, yeah.
Is it from it?
Yep.
Number 34?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 34 and verse 1. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo,
Right.
to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho.
Right.
And the Most High shewed him all the land of Gilead unto Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim, and Manasseh, all the land of Judah unto the utmost sea, and the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto Zoar. And the Most High said unto him, this is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So Moses, the servant of the Most High, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Most High. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor, but no man knoweth of his sepulchre unto this day.
Right, see that? Yeah. So go back to our first Kings now. I just went there to show that's the land that the Most High was on. I'm sorry, not Kings, but Maccabees. Yeah, but the Maccabees.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 4. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain, where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High.
Right. So what mountain did Moses climb up into? We just read it now in Deuteronomy 34. Mount Nebo. Mountain in the land of Moab. Because the land of Moab, get my map up there. The mountain of Nebo in Moab was overlooking Israel, because they were in a close proximity to each other. So that's where that's where Moses.
The first scripture, the first one you had it, Mount Nebo. It is on the right.
That.
The first one, beyond that we have. You see that? Mount Nebo, yeah.
See that? Mount Nebo. Yeah. Right, exactly. It's Mount Nebo right there. Exactly. It's Mount Nebo. That's where, exactly. Remember that Israel was on the east of Jericho, east of the River Jordan?
Yeah.
Right, that's Mount Nebo right there. As you can see that Israel is on over there. Mount Nebo's right there. So Moses was able to see the land of Israel, but he was not able to go over there because the Most High deemed that Moses was surpassed in Mount Nebo. And I'm just showing you, give an idea where Mount Nebo was relative to where Israel was. See, Mount Nebo was east of River Jordan and east of the land of Israel. Fine. All right, go back to First Kings. I'm sorry. Finish that.
Yes,
Maccabees.
The book of
we went to Maccabees to see with the Ark of the Covenant.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 5. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense.
Right. So that where was the ark in Mount Nebo. In verse 5 again.
Verse 5. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave.
So when Jeremiah came to Mount Nebo, he found a hollow cave. Read on.
Wherein he laid the tabernacle.
Where he laid the tabernacle. Read on.
And the ark.
What was the tabernacle? A tabernacle like a mobile temple. Temple that you could just put in the shoulder of you know what I mean? The stabs and that's that's what the tabernacle was. Tabernacle was like what? Like a mobile dwelling place, like a tent, something like that. And the ark was in there.
And the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way.
Right. So that's where Prophet Jeremiah hid the ark of the covenant in a cave in Mount Nebo, and the Israelites were following him, being curious. You know, they had their own ulterior motive, which was not positive. I don't know, maybe they wanted to see where the ark was so they could go back and retrieve it and sell it to the Philistines for some wicked Israelites, man, had their own wicked agenda. when it said to some simple-minded Philistines or something. You know, so.
And some of those that followed him came to mark the way.
Some that followed him trying to mark the way so they can go back and retrieve it. You know.
But they couldn't find it.
But they couldn't find it. Why?
Which, when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them.
See, Jeremiah saw what they were up to. So he blamed them. What's wrong with you guys? I know what's in your heart. It's not good. You're trying to find out where the Ark of the Covenant is going to be hidden so you can go back and get it. So you can to satisfy your own agenda. Read on.
Saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High gather his people again together.
Right. So until that place, it shall be unknown. Read it again.
Verse 7.
Read the words.
Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying,
when Jeremiah perceived their intention, he blamed them, saying,
as for that place,
the cave where the Ark of the Covenant was hid,
it shall be unknown.
It shall be unknown
until the time that the Most High gather his people again together.
It shall be unknown until that time that the Most High gathered his people together again. Has the Most High gathered his people together again yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. The Most High hasn't gathered his people together yet.
And receive them unto mercy.
The process has started, but it hasn't completed yet. Give me Zephaniah 2:1. So all these people you're talking about, they got Ark of the Covenant because there's a big talk going around that the so-called Ethiopian Coptic Church, the Coptic Church of Ethiopia got the Ark of the Covenant. We're going to believe. Also, before we get Zephaniah, give me Romans 3. We're going to believe the Most High or man? We're going to believe. We just read in the scriptures where the Most High said the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark of the Covenant in a cave in Mount Nebo. And the scripture further says that until the Most High gathered his people together, that location shall not be discovered. So anyone here talking about they got the Ark of the Covenant, you know the line. You know they're making up something to further their own personal agenda. So you're going to believe them or the Most High? Romans 3.
The book of Romans chapter 3 and verse 3. For what if some did not believe? Shall the unbelief make the faith of the Most High effect?
Right. What if you don't believe what we just read in Maccabees? Read on.
Most High forbid. Yea, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar.
Let the Most High be true and every man a liar. So the Most High said what? The Ark of the Covenant was hid by the prophet Jeremiah in Mount Nebo in the 6th century BC. So who's mad to say that this church or that church got it? They're lying, man. We're going to believe them on the Most High. Is that it?
As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings.
Right.
It mightest overcome when thou art judged.
Right. That's how we justified in our saying. Because the Most High told us what happened. And they can't justify themselves because they're just making up things. Let's go back to what else is that?
Zephaniah 2 verse 1.
Yeah, Zephaniah 2.
The book of Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1.
Right. The Most High said that place is not going to be discovered until what? His people gather together. The process of gathering us together has started, but it hasn't completed yet. Read on.
The book of Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together.
That's what we do every time we go and teach. That's what we're doing right now. That's what we do all over the earth. And when brothers and sisters go to, when brothers go to teach the word of the Most High, we gather ourselves together. Yeah, read on.
Yeah, gather together, O nation, not desire.
Not nations, but nation, one nation.
Not desire.
Not desire. We're not desired because what? They know we are the nation of the Most High. They know we are chosen nation of the Most High. And they have a problem with that. So we're not desired by them. They envy us from the very beginning when we came out of Egypt with Moses to this very day. That's why there are all these agendas, all these policies, all these actions are taken against our people. the discrimination, the hostilities, the violence. Because they know who we are. Not because we have a particular skin color or that. They know who we are as a people. Read on, is there more?
Verse 2. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Most High come upon you.
Right, before the fierce anger of the Most High come upon you. That's why we got to gather ourselves together. Go back to 1 Kings.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 13. And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked her, beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty.
Right.
So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Verse 14.
Right, see that? So because we went out to those scriptures to prove that the Ark of the Covenant is not in the possession of any person right now. It's hid. Prophet Jeremiah hid it in Mount Nebo, in the territories of Moab, overlooking our homeland. I understand that there were not a bunch of there was not an entourage of Levites going back to Sheba with the queen of Sheba. I understand with the possession of the Ark of the Covenant, and also Jerusalem, the land of Israel, is still our homeland.
That's right.
It was not transformed. It was not transferred. Our homeland was not transferred to another location either. The Ark of the Covenant was not given to another nation, and the homeland of Israel is still Israel, even though we were scattered through the four corners of the earth in captivity. Give me Ezekiel 16. Ezekiel 16 verse 2.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 16 and verse 2. Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations.
Yes, son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abomination.
And say, thus saith the Most High Power unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan.
Right. The Most High said what? Your birth and nativity is of the land of Canaan. What does the word nativity mean? That's your indigenous land. That's the land that you're native of. That's the land your root is embedded in. Your root is planted in. Moses said your birth and nativity is of the land of Canaan. That's the land that the Moses gave to the Israelites. We became a nation of people in Egypt in slavery, but as far as our own sovereignty, as far as our own governance was concerned, our land was the land of Canaan, which previously belonged to another nation of people. Read on.
Thy father was an Amorite.
Thy father was an Amorite. Now the Moses speak one, metaphorically. The Amorite were our Hamites, right? Read on.
And thy mother an Hittite.
Right. So the Moses basically saying that what? That land previously belonged to the Amorites and the Hittites.
Right.
He's not saying that we are Amorites or Hittites to the Canaanites. Understand? The Moses was saying, speaking metaphorically, that this land previously belonged to those people, but I gave it to you for an inheritance, an everlasting possession, as per the covenant that he made with the Abraham, with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They made with Abraham, Isaac, and got passed down to Jacob. Read on.
Verse 4. And as for thy nativity, in the day thou wast born, thy navel was not cut, neither wast thou washed in water to supple thee.
Now give me also Genesis 15 verse 13. Genesis 15 verse 13. The Most High said what? Our birth and nativity was on the land of Canaan, where the Amorites and the Hittites dwelt.
The book of Genesis chapter 15 and verse 13. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs.
Right, so the Most High was telling Abraham, know of a surety that your seed shall be in a land that is not theirs. Read it again.
The book of Genesis chapter 15 and verse 13. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs.
Your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. Read on.
And shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
And we served the Egyptians and were afflicted by them for 400 years. Read on.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come out with great substance.
Right.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace.
Right. And Moses said what? That nation, the Egyptians, which is the Israelites served for that 400 years, will he judge. And then Israel will come out of that land, Egypt, with great substance. Understand? And in the meantime, while all that is going on, Abraham of course, would have passed away. Read on.
Verse 15, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace.
Right.
Thou shalt be buried in a good age.
Right, and Abraham lived to be what, about 175 years? Right, so Abraham was passed away while Israel was in a captivity in Egypt. Read on.
Verse 16, but in the fourth generation they shall come hither again.
Right, but in the fourth generation, the fourth generation was, the second generation was Isaac. The third generation was Jacob. Then after that, the children of Israel. But in the fourth generation,
they shall come hither again.
They shall come hither again. They shall come from Israel again. Read on.
For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Right. So all those time had to elapse because what? The iniquity of the Amorites was not full. So the Most High said the wickedness of the Amorites are not full. So the Most High was waiting for the wickedness of the Amorites to reach a certain point before he threw the Amorites out and bring us into that land. That's why when our wickedness reached a certain point, the Most High threw us out of that land. Because that land, give me Deuteronomy 32 and 8.
Yes, sir.
The Most High deemed that land to be our possession from the very beginning. Before the Amorites were even in there, the Most High deemed the land to have been to be our possession. Deuteronomy 32 verse 8.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations the inheritance.
See, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, what is that talking about? When the Most High divided the land to the different nations on earth. Read on.
When he separated the sons of Adam.
When he separated the sons of Adam, the children of Adam, which all people were. Read on.
He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
Right, so he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. When the Most High divided those nations, divided to the nations their inheritance, Israel wasn't even born yet. Israel wasn't even a nation yet. Abraham wasn't even a nation yet. But the Most High was looking at things from a very, futuristically. Understand? So the Most High gave those various nations their territories based on where he intended for Israel, which was to be a future nation, to be situated. So that land of Israel from the very beginning was deemed to be a special place, a place of holiness and righteousness, where wickedness could not prolong, wickedness could not stay there perpetually. Once the wickedness got to a certain level, the people there have to be kicked out. So all the wickedness you see going on in Israel right now, in the land of Israel right now, don't be too upset about it. It simply means that what? Because what they got over Israel right now? You even got the gay Olympics. There are more abominations going on in Israel right now, under them so-called Jews right now, in the vicinity of the land. That's not what's going on even over here in modern day Babylon, America. So when the wickedness reaches a certain point, look for the Most High to keep them out and bring us back into that homeland. You got something?
Oh, yes, sir.
What you got?
Ezekiel 36, verse 5.
Okay.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 36 and verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power,
Right.
surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Adumia, which have appointed my land into their possession.
Right, so Moses speaking against the residue of the heathens, the other nations, and against Adum, the so-called white man, Edom, read on.
Which have appointed my land into their possession.
What did they do? They appointed the Most High land into their possession, the land of Israel, and even the land of America, which previously belonged to who? The Gadites, the Reubenites, the so-called North American Indians. Read on.
With the joy of their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey.
Right.
Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus saith the Most High Power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, I have lifted up mine hand, surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame.
Right. So just like we bore our share of shame because of our transgression and our wickedness while we were in the land and got kicked out, those nations, which is Edom, the so-called Jews which are in there right now, they are also going to bear their shame. For they're going to be they bear their shame for their transgression, because the wickedness are going to surpass the wickedness of the Amorites that was in that land back in the time before we got there. Understand? And then we're going to be brought back into that land. But when we've been brought back to that land, the Most High is going to write righteousness in our heart. We're going to be brought back to that land. We're going to live a righteous life. So there's not going to be any chance of us transgressing and being kicked out again. Because the Most High is going to give us a righteous spirit to keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. And the land is going to what? A land of righteousness. All right. Go back to 1 Kings.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 10 and
wait a minute now. As a matter of fact, no, don't get to 1 Kings yet. Give me I'm still expounding on how Jerusalem is our homeland, and that Africa or any territories in Ethiopia or Sheba or wherever, and that there's the theory that the Ark of the Covenant was brought to Ethiopia, that she was a fallacy. As you can see, I saw earlier also. You can see that Sheba was located where? In southern in Yemen, modern day Yemen, which is the southern part of the Saudi Arabia, which is some distance from Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? So I did come to say that the Ark of the Covenant is can I get the map of give me the map of Africa, and northeast Africa, with modern day Ethiopia. It's possible to get it with also here. So it's just that's coach right here. This is that coach. Yeah, give me not too detailed. With Ethiopia. Okay, Ethiopia right here. So they were saying around the covenant was brought to Ethiopia, which you know that, which you know is a lie. We just read that in the Maccabees. Get me also.
Yes.
Get me Galatians 4:26. As a matter of fact, skip Galatians. Get me Ezekiel 11 verse 16.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 11, verse 16.
Yeah.
Therefore say, thus saith the Most High Power, although I have cast them far off among the heathen.
Right, it's talking about Israel. The Most High cast us far off among the heathens. That's why we were scattered through the four corners of the earth. We were cast off among the heathens. Read on.
And although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come.
Right, so the Most High was always with us. We are always a little sanctuary unto the Most High. Read on.
Verse 16. Verse 17. Therefore say, thus saith the Most High Power, I will even gather you from the people, and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel.
See that? It's the last days right there. The Most High said what? It's gonna gather us from the lands we were scattered. It's going to gather us from the countries, from amongst the heathens, where we were scattered. And do what? What is going to do?
And I will give you the land of Israel.
And he will give us the land of Israel, not the land of Ethiopia, not the land of Sheba, not the land of Egypt, or any other land, but the land of Israel. That's the land that the Most High is going to bring us back to. The land of Israel. The land that he gave to our forefathers. Because he gave us a land for what? An everlasting possession. So when you hear them talking about the New Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem is just the same place, just built up. That's all it's talking about. It's not talking about a different location. It's not talking about a different land, a different country. It's talking about the same place, the land of Israel. But what? Right now it's a wasteland right now. But when we are brought back and gathered back to that land is going to be built up again.
Verse 18. And they shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. Verse 19. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them an heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes, and keep my ordinances, and do them.
Right, see that? So once the Most High gives us back that land of Israel, He's going to take away all the detestable things, all the idols, the abominations, all the wickedness, all the graven images. He's going to take away all that. And then what is he going to do? And he's going to write His laws, statutes, and commandments on our minds, so that we can serve Him. Because in order for us to stay in that land, we have to be righteous. And because the Most High deemed for us to have the land for an everlasting possession, and He saw that we are not capable of keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments to the extent that He wants us to, He's going to put that spirit on us to be of a righteous mind, so we can keep His laws, statutes, and commandments and stay in that land. Is there more?
Yes, sir. And They shall be my people, and I will be their power.
Right. And we shall be the Most High's people, and he shall be our power. Get me also Jeremiah 16, 14. No, give me Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11.
Yes, sir.
Isaiah 11, verse 11.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11 and verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people.
Right, it's talking about the second Exodus. Read on.
Which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush,
And from Cush.
and from Elam.
So wait a minute. If the Most High is going to set his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people from all those places, including Cush. But if Cush was supposed to be the new Jerusalem, why are we being recovered from the land, from Cush? If Cush is supposed to be the new Jerusalem, if Ethiopia, which is part of the Cushite Empire, was to be the new Jerusalem, why are we being drawn from those territories? Because the Most High God is people in our countries. Read on.
And from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
Go to verse 16.
Verse 16. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of
Right,
Egypt.
there should be a highway. What's a highway? A road in the travel on. A road that you travel on, you know what I mean, a wide road, smooth road, a road you know is going in a specific direction. Understand? So, give me a second Ezra 13. In the Apocrypha.
Yes, sir.
A highway is a road that that's going in a specific direction. It's not like a side street where all kind of twists and turns where you get lost. That's why the Most High said what? He was going to set up what? An ensign. What's an ensign? A sign. A mark. And an ensign can be a lot of things. An ensign is teachers teaching them or people the nationality and the heritage. An ensign is Masha Kawashai. The ensign is a sign. So we can know beyond the shadow of a doubt who we are and what the Most High requires of us. All those are ensigns. 2 Ezra 13 verse 40.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13 and verse 40. If you have the Red Apocrypha, it is on page 31. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
Now let's talk about after the Persian Median captivity. When we were released by the Persian Medes in 538 BC, and the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom decided what? They're not going to stay in that part of the world anymore. They're going to come to another part of the world which is now known today as the Americas. That was in 538 BC, long before Columbus. So we can't understand how Columbus discovered that land. And so this so-called white man acting like nobody else is of any significance besides himself. Understand? So we just read about reading right there of how the 10 tribes, the Tahinos, Boricuas, Native Indians came to this side of the world. When they came here and how they came here. Read on.
Verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they should leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country.
Right. They don't want to be around the heathens anymore because what? they will say that it's the heathens who seduce them into following the gods of their nations. So they said, we're not going to be around these heathens anymore. We're going to go to a far land. Because remember that Solomon, when Solomon was ruling, he had navies. He had a navy ship. So they traveled far and wide, so they were aware of the different territories that existed and different land that existed. So that wasn't anything new to them that America existed. Read on.
Where never mankind dwelt,
Where never mankind dwelt. Read on.
that they might there keep the statutes which they never kept in their own land.
Right. So they never keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments in their own land, but they want to go to another territories where man never lived, with the intention of keeping the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments there. Read on.
And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then shewed signs for them.
Can you show me a map up there of the Euphrates? So we can have an idea what journey that was talking about. The northern tribes, the 10 tribes and 9 tribes, traveled along the route to come to this part of the world. We're talking about the Marika, Tahina, native Indians. They traveled along the route, along the Euphrates, which we know to be, which led into which led down along the east coast of Africa, come and loop around to the west coast, come up into the Americas. The Euphrates, okay. See the Euphrates River leading down through Iraq, coming down, which lead into the can you expand that? Can you expand the relative to the African continent? The Middle East and Africa. Yeah. Okay. So the Euphrates came down. From the Euphrates, that's how we got out from the mainland, the Middle East, and they would travel along, going down to the east coast of Africa, and looped around the southern tip of Africa, come up on the east side of east coast of Africa into the Americas. That's how it came over this part of the earth. Read on. Read on.
Verse 44. For the Most High kept then shewed signs for them, and he held still the flood till they were passed over.
He said, and the Most High shewed signs for them. So the Most High let them know when the high tide and low tide and all that. The Most High basically still the waters, because the Mashiach Yahushua, the Most High, they can do that. We've read many scriptures of the still waters. That's what the Most High did, so the 12 tribes, the 10 tribes were able to come to this part of the world. You know?
Verse 45. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
That's how long it took for them to get to this side of the world. A year and a half. You know?
Namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Ozareth.
Right, it's America, read on.
Then dwelt they there until the latter time.
Right, and the Israelites dwelt here, or dwelling here, until the last days. We're still here. The northern tribes and the southern tribes are still here. The northern tribes, we need from 38 or so BC. The southern tribes came in later the transatlantic slave trade. Read on.
Verse 46.
Go back to the, sorry, come on to that now.
Then dwelt they there until the latter time. And now, when they shall begin to come.
See that? And now, but I have to say, the now isn't actually, it's not here yet. But the now is coming soon. When it's time for the Most High to bring us from this land again. Read on.
Verse 47. The highest shall stay the springs of the stream again.
See that? The highest shall stay the springs of the stream again.
That they may go through, therefore sowest thou the multitude with peace.
The highest shall stay the stream of the springs. Read it again.
Verse 47. The highest shall stay the springs of the stream again.
The highest shall stay
the springs of the stream again, that they may go through, therefore sowest thou the multitude with peace.
So the Most High let you know that just like He prepared a passage for us to come to the side of the world, when we were escaping from the Assyrians and the other nations, He's going to prepare another passage for us to lead from this side of the world to go back to our homeland. That's one of the ways in which He's going to gather the 12 tribes of Israel from the four corners of the earth to bring us back where? To our homeland. The land of Canaan, which became the land of Israel, the land that the Most High gave to our forefathers for an everlasting possession. Go back to Jeremiah.
Yes, sir.
We'll wrap it up over there.
Yes, sir.
Where is Jeremiah 16? Jeremiah 16 verse 14.
Yes, sir. The book of Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Most High, that it shall no more be said, the Most High liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Most High liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither He had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers.
Right. What land did the Most High give to our fathers? The Most High says He's going to bring us again to the land that He gave to our forefathers. What land did the Most High give to our forefathers? The land of Canaan. Not the land of Ethiopia, or the land of Sheba, or Egypt, or any other land, but the land of Canaan. And the Most High said what? We are the land of our nativity. You know?
But behold, but the Most High liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither He had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers.
Right. The Most High will bring us the land He gave to our forefathers. Let's go back to 1 Kings.
Yes.
Let's finish 1 Kings chapter 10.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 13. And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Verse 14. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 606 talents of gold. Beside that, he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic of the spice merchants, and all of the kings of Arabia, and of the governors of the country. Verse 16. And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. And he made 300 shields.
So even though Solomon was ruling in the time of peace, he was still making weapons of war. You know what I mean? Weapons of war, targets of being gold, shekels of gold went to one target. Now read on.
Verse 17, 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 17. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Verse 18, moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was wound behind, and there were stays on either side on the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays.
Right, so that's how large Solomon's throne was. There are steps, 6 steps. Throne made of ivory and overlaid with the finest of gold. Read on.
And 12 lions stood there on the one side and on the other side upon the 6 steps. There was not the like made in any kingdom. Verse 21, and all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram.
So the king had many navies, man. A navy of Tarshish and a navy of Hiram. Read on.
Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom.
Right, so Solomon had the navy that came from Tarshish every 3 years. With a new supplies of gold and all that. He had apes and all that. Like the pets and peacocks, all those were like pets. So,
Yep.
You know?
So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. Verse 24. And all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which Yah had put in his heart.
Right, so it wasn't just Sheba who went to seek Solomon's wisdom. All the earth, other people of different places went to seek Solomon's wisdom also. Read on.
Verse 25. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver, and vessels of gold, and garments, and armor, and spices, horses, and mules, a rate year by year.
See that, yo? Is that the wisdom here? You know what I'm saying? You want my wisdom, want my advice? Bring me gold, silver, spices, mules, all that, year by year. Read on.
Verse 26. And Solomon gathered together chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he bestowed in the cities for chariots, and with the king at Jerusalem. And the king made silver to be in Jerusalem as stones.
Wow.
And cedars
Silver
made.
was to be in Jerusalem as stones. If you go inside and see stones now, it's like that's what plentiful silver was. Can you imagine just walking around and see all the stones in the earth today?
Yeah.
That was back in the days. That was in Solomon's time. That was like silver. That was silver. Wow.
And cedars made he to be as the sycamore trees that are in the vale for abundance.
Well, and cedar made he to be as the sycamore trees that are in the valley for abundance. Because sycamore trees are very much in abundance. But cedar trees are even today, cedar trees are very expensive. A lot of people have furniture in the house made of cedar, mahogany, and oak. Those are like some of the more durable and expensive trees that the furnitures are made of, because they're durable, they're strong. You know what I'm saying? And they're just expensive. But there was so much of that Solomon could get from Lebanon and different places. Read on.
Verse 28. And Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. Verse 29. And the chariot came up and went out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and an horse for 150. And so for all the kings of the Hittites And for the kings of Syria, did they bring them out by their means?
Right, so Solomon get all these things in abundance, man. Whatever they get for free, or as a gift that they gave him to his wisdom, you got them for cheap.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the end of chapter 10, which is very deep if we try to relate it to a lot of situations or events, particularly with the visit of Sheba and the rumors or theories that came from that visit, that she became Shalamah slept with her, got a son and all that, from which Haile Selassie was the descendant who inherited basically the throne, and a lot of people associate him to be either Mashik Yahweh or even the Mosai, but as we can see, the Ark of the Covenant was hid in Mount Nebo in the land of Moab. It was not taken to Sheba. And whether or not Solomon slept with Sheba, that was not revealed. Whether Haile Selassie descendant, or is a Hamad or Israelite, that's immaterial. We know who the Mashik Yahushua is, son of the Most High. We know the Mashik Yahushua returns, all eyes should see him. Get me in Revelation. So anyone see that particular person is a Mashik Yahushua, we know that's a lie.
The book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7. Mm-hmm. Behold, he cometh with clouds.
Right, that's the Mashik Yahushua right there. When the Mashik Yahushua is coming back with clouds, which are what? The chariots, his transportation system, read on.
And every eye shall see him.
And every eye should see the Mashik Yahushua when he returns. Read.
And they also which pierced him.
Even the ones that pierced him, the Romans, and even the wicked Israelites who gave him up to the Romans, they also shall see him. Read on.
And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him.
And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. We went there to show you what? To show you that what? Nobody came as a Messiah. I don't know, and the Mashik Yahushua back then. And I said, and when the Mashik Yahushua is going to come again, there won't be any mystery about it. All eyes should see him, and everyone should know that's the Mashik Yahushua. Read.
Even so, amen.
Even so, amen. Show Mashik Yahushua.
You open the line or you have some more?
Am I open the line?
Yeah.
All right, Shalom Yasharallah. As you know, this topic is a very important topic. The visit of the Queen of Sheba. Rastafarians, they believe that Haile Selassie is a descendant of Queen of Sheba. They also say that when the Queen of Sheba came to visit Solomon, somehow he slept with her. Now, as you can see, it is not true. Now, the line is open. If you have any question or comment or any difference with what we are saying, with what the Bible is saying, you can call us at 954-526-5299. The line is open. You can call us and ask any question concerning this topic. The Rastafarians, they believe that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. The Bible doesn't say that. The line is open. If you have any contention or any argument with what the Bible is saying or any question, you can call us at 954-526-5299. The line is open. Yeah, go ahead.
In 1 Kings 1 and 14, there's a mention of how much gold the Queen of Sheba gave to Solomon. It says 6 talents of gold. So to give
1 and 14?
10 and 14.
Oh, 10 and 14. What's that?
I got you. Let me read.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 10 and verse 14. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 603 score and 6 talents of gold.
Right.
And 1 talent of gold, well, we'll go here. 1 talent of gold is 34 kilograms. And today, so that's approximately
34 kilograms.
80 or so pounds. So if we go into 1 talent of gold today, that's close to
$22,000.
2.2 million US dollars for 1 talent of gold. So he was given, or in 1 year he got 666 talents of gold.
The 2 million times, now the weight of that was, in 1 year was 603 scores, 600, well, 666, 600,
603 score,
is it 60?
yeah, and 6 talents.
So that's 600, 606, 600 and
And
600, 66 talents of gold.
Yeah.
That is really
In 1 year, you got a billion dollar.
in 1 year.
Okay.
So that gives a little bit of perspective of his empire.
Beside that, he had of the merchant. Anything else?
Yes, Yasharallah, the line is open for any question or any contention. You can call us at 954-526-299 for any question concerning the visit of the Queen of Sheba to Israel. In Israel, when she came to Solomon in Israel, she got something from us too. She learned of the wisdom that Solomon had, and she witnessed it with her own eyes. Do you have any question on the line, brother?
Well, I see Yasharala, this elder going back in boats. Well, that's this, in Second Ezra, get again. Second Ezra, 13 verse 40 of 45 again.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 45. For through that country there was a great way to go.
I'm trying to address what the convention made, going back on boats. Well, it's not literally that way, because remember, we were scattered. What? So say what? Yashankia?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yasharala, yeah.
Right. It says that that shouldn't be taken necessarily literally, because remember we were scattered through the 4 corners of the earth. All right. So the Most is going to bring us back to the get me Ezekiel 20 and 32.
I got it.
32 20. But the wilderness.
Oh yeah, 22 verse 20.
20 verse 30, was it? 20 verse 32 or 32?
Yeah, I got you. 20,
Right.
20 verse 20.
So the Most is going to bring us to the wilderness. He's going to gather us from the. Before get that, get me Isaiah 11.
Yes.
The Most is going to gather us from the 4 corners of the earth by various means. Understand? When we read in the Esdras, when I read that in the Esdras, the Most was saying that what? He basically saying that what? Wherever he scattered us to, he's going to gather us again, back from those territories. Whether by boats or by don't concern ourselves too much with the means by which we're going to be gathered. Just consider ourselves what? Yo, keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments to make ourselves worthy to be gathered back from wherever we happen to be. Understand? So going back on boats, not necessarily by boats, literally. That shouldn't be taken literal because there are going to be various means. Get me also Thessalonians, pick it up. Get me that. Get Ezekiel.
Okay. I have Isaiah 11 verse 11. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time.
Gather us from folk of the earth. Read on.
To recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Paphos, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
Right. So we gather from various parts of the earth, from the islands of the sea, from the islands. So I guess those in the islands, then we gather by the boats, right?
Said something else.
Is there more?
Oh, from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign.
Alright, go back and get me now Ezekiel. What, the wilderness? Is it 20 verse 32?
Give me 1 second. 22 verse 20. 20 and verse 20. I think it's 20 verse 32.
Yeah, 2034.
20 and 34, yes, sir. Of 33. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 33. As I live, saith the Most High Power, surely with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you.
Right, the Most High is going to rule over Israel. As he lived, the Most High is determined that he's going to rule over Israel. With an iron fist, with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. So those who don't want to obey the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, the Most High is going to pour out his fury upon them. Read on.
Verse 34. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered.
Right, so the Most High is going to gather us out of the countries wherein we were scattered. By what means? You have to say this. Read on.
With a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, I will bring you into the wilderness of the people.
Right.
And there will I plead with you face to face.
So the Most High says what? He's going to gather us from the four corners of the earth, from the countries where we were scattered, and bring us into the wilderness, wherein we were bring us into the wilderness and plead with us face to face.
Let me get Thessalonians. Where it says we shall have taken up, we shall have met each of them in the sky.
Maybe 2 Thessalonians 3 and verse 16.
Yeah.
That's 4 and 7. Yeah. I'll actually start from verse 2 Thessalonians. No, 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 16.
The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 16. For the other one himself shall descend from heaven, and with a shout.
Right, we just read that in Revelation 1 and 7. For the Most High, for the other one, the Mashiach Yahushua himself, shall descend from heaven with a shout. You know what? A great noise. With someone shouting, you hear them, you see them. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to wonder, is that the Mashiach? It's going to be so much noise, mate. He will get your attention. You will know for a fact that's him. Read on.
With the voice of the archangel.
With the voice of the archangel. Read on.
And with the trump of the Most High. And the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first.
Right. And the dead in the Mashiach Yahushua shall rise first. Let's talk about our forefathers who kept the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, and made themselves worthy of the Mashiach of redemption. They're going to rise first. So all those who die in this truth, they're going to rise first. They didn't die in vain. Their salvation is like sealed up. According to the Most High laws, according to the Most High, the Mashiach Yahushua. Read on.
Verse 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds.
Yeah. Then we which are alive, so So those of us who happen to be alive when the Mashiach Yahushua is coming back and making himself known to everybody on earth, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up
with them in the clouds.
With them in the clouds. See, the sister, I went there to show that we're not all going to go back by boats. See, that we're going to be caught up in clouds, you know what, the chariots. So a lot of us going to be beamed up on chariots also, depending on where we've been gathered from to go back to the wilderness. Understand? So there are many ways in which the Messiah is going to gather his people from the four corners of the earth. And by boats. I just refer to the scriptures we said by boats because that was basically metaphorically speaking, because the Messiah literally came over here, the 10 tribes or the 9 tribes came to this part of the earth, came to the Americas by boats to escape from the Syrians. And the Messiah said what? Just like we came to this part of the earth, in the latter days we're going to be brought back from this part of the earth and other places of the earth back to the wilderness, which was read in Ezekiel 20. Understand? So we read right here in the Thessalonians at the first chapter. Chapter 4, verse 17.
Verse 17.
That we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. What the clouds I was talking about. We're going to be beamed up in the clouds. Understand? The Christians talk about the rapture, but that they put it in a different perspective. But you're going to be brought up in the clouds.
To meet the other one in the air.
Right.
And so shall we ever be with the other one. Wherefore, comfort one another with these words.
Right. But the Christian think of being beamed up and brought up into the heavens. But no, we're not going to be brought up to heaven. We're going to be beamed up and brought to where? To the wilderness. We're just going to be brought to the wilderness and be brought under the bond of the covenant. Where the Moses is going to plead with us face to face, just like he pleaded with our forefathers when we came out of Egypt with Moses. Understand? So we're not going to be beamed up and then brought up into heaven in the sky. Where we're going to live, we're going to be right down in the earth. We read earlier, give me Ezekiel 11 again.
Yes, sir.
11:16. But the Moses said what? It's going to give us what? The land of Israel. Israel, right here on earth. The Christian must believe that when we die, the physical death, our body goes into the earth and our soul goes back to the heavens. Understand? But in the last days, when the Mashiach Yahushua is returning, we're gonna inhabit the earth. We're not gonna understand, because the earth was made to be inhabited. That's where we're gonna be. We ain't gonna be up there. Only our soul, when we die the physical death, are gonna go back to the Mashiach, go back to the Messiah until the last days. But in the last days, when we gather from the four corners of the earth, we're gonna be brought back. We're going to the land of Israel, the land that the Messiah gave to our forefathers. That's where we're going to live. On earth, right here on earth. Just like we live right here on earth when we came out of Egypt with Moses. Read out.
That's right. The book of Ezekiel chapter 11 and verse 16. Therefore say, thus saith the Most High Power, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come.
Right. The Messiah cast us off among other countries, but yet the Messiah shall be to us a little sanctuary in those countries where he cast us off. Read on.
Verse 17. Therefore say, thus saith the Most High Power, I will even gather you from the people.
The Moses said what? He's going to gather us from the people, those countries and places we were scattered. Read on.
It assemble you out of the countries.
And assemble us out of those countries
where ye have scattered. And I will give you the land of Israel.
And he will give us the land of Israel. Understand? So that's where we're going to be living. The land of Israel. Give me Isaiah 16:10.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 60 and verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls.
Right. The sons of strangers shall build up our walls, because right now the place is detestable, it's desolate, it's ruined. You know? So
the book of Isaiah 60 and verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls.
The sons of strangers shall build up our walls. Read on.
And their kings shall minister unto thee.
And their kings shall minister unto us. So all those right now, they look at us as just Negroes speak sweatbacks and all that, like we nobody. Right now they're ruling. But guess what? All those people seen in this position of prominence, rulership, dominion, they're going to build up our walls. Read on.
And their kings shall minister unto thee.
The kings shall be our servants. Read on.
For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy.
I understand this. A lot of us, when we came over here from the west coast of Africa, on cargo slave ships, and the transatlantic slave trade, a lot of us were princes, queens, princesses, kings, and all that. Important people, rulership. But the Most High brought us down because of our transgression. Same thing can happen again to those nations who are ruling. They're going to be brought down from the position of rulership that they're in right now. Our people don't see that. You have to come to this truth to see that. Because all kingdoms on this earth, if you go back into history, position of rulership was changed from one nation to the next, according to the Most High. So the Most High can take on any nation, no matter how powerful they look right now, at any given time. And so the Most High can take on America, Russia, China, England, all those powerful nations right now at any given time, when he feels like it. What did he say when he talked to Abraham? He said, "You should go. Go to your forefathers in a ripe old age, because the wickedness of the Amorites aren't yet full." So the Most High is waiting for the wickedness of the Edomites and the heathens and the other nations to be full before he take them down and bring us back to the land of Israel, just like we just read in Ezekiel. That's what the Most High is waiting for. While we're gathering ourselves together to make ourselves worthy of that redemption. More?
I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually.
Right, the Most High said what? He smote us, but he will have mercy on us. Read it again.
The book of Isaiah 60 and verse 11. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles.
Right. Our gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day or night, that men will bring unto us what?
The forces
of the Gentiles. What are the forces of the Gentiles? Their labor, their properties, their possessions, all that they're going to bring to us on earth to build up our walls. Read on.
And that their kings may be brought. Verse 12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
Right. So all those nations which choose not to serve us, they shall be totally destroyed. Right. Is there more? That's it. Okay.
I have one piece about Revelation 2 verse 25.
I get it.
That's it. The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 25. But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
Right, see that? You got to endure. What? That which you have already, hold fast to that. What you got already? Your heritage, your nationality. We know who we are. You got the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Hold on to that. Endure. Understand? Don't go back Don't conform to the ways of the world. Don't go back out there doing what the heathens do. Don't go back to your vomit. Go back to your vomit, it's gonna be worse. Your life state gonna be worse than your previous state. Endure. Give me what? Matthew 20. Is there more? Give me Matthew 20 and 13. Is there more?
Oh, that's it. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
He that overcometh and keepeth the Most High's works until the end, him will he, Most High, the Mashiach, shall give power over the nations. See that? Give power over the nations. What does that mean? We're going to be ruling. If we endure to the end, the Most High, the Mashiach, are going to give us power over the nations. We're going to be ruling the nations. So if we're going to be ruling the nations, how are they going to be equal to us? How are they going to be saved just like us? They're going to be there for bondmen and bondwomen. Just like we serve them for over 400 years plus. They're going to be serving us what? Eternity.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
We shall what?
And he shall rule them.
He shall rule them, not be equal to them, but rule them. When you rule someone, what does that mean? You're slaves, man. You're servants, bondmen and bondwomen. Read on.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. Verse 28. And I will give him the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Matthew 20, verse 13.
20, 13, yeah.
The book of Matthew.
Enduring.
Yeah, yes, the book of Matthew, chapter 20 and verse 13.
24 and 13. Endure?
24 and 13.
I think 24 and 13.
Yes, sir. The book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
He that endure to the end, the same shall be saved. So, this ain't a sprint, this is a marathon. So hold fast to what you know. What do you know? That you're a Hebrew Israelites. The Mashiach died for us to redeem us back to the Most High. The Most High give us laws, statutes, and commandments to keep. We should separate ourselves spiritually from the heathens, not conform to their ways. Understand? And endure. Keep living that lifestyle of righteousness. Understand? It's not grievous. It's easy to do. Especially when you come around other people like yourselves. That's the easy part. Come around people like yourselves, build a brotherhood, sisterhood, a nation, gather ourselves together, be a nation that desire. That's what we got to do. And endure to the end, and the Most High is going to give us what? Dominion. Go ahead.
Revelation 2:10.
Before that, Elder, the one thing that we with First Kings 10 proves that it proves that the Queen of Sheba was never get pregnant by Solomon.
There's no mention of that.
Yeah, because it says in verse 13 that she and her servants went back to her place,
right.
But you don't see any instance of sexual intercourse between her and Solomon.
There's no mention. Yeah, right. Scripture didn't mention this such thing.
The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 10. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
Right, so we're going to go through all kind of tribulation, man. Imprisonment, discrimination, even death. Nothing should separate us from the Most High and Mashiach, because we know that what? No matter what we go through, the Most High is going to give us a crown at the end. If we endure.
Elder, can I move this very quickly?
Another one?
Yeah, this one, Elder. It is in. Let me read it. Answer that verse. Second Maccabees chapter 2. Second Maccabees chapter 2, and verse 4. And it was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commended the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High. Verse 7, which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. Yeah, this chapter here, this verse here, proves that the people in Israel are not the real Jews. Because if they were the real Jews, the Ark of the Covenant would be in their possession.
Exactly. Very important. That proves right there that the people in Israel are not the real Israelites, not the real Jews.
And also it proves that the Most High doesn't gather his people yet. Because it says until the time that the Most High gather his people again.
Right. Yeah, right. We're not gathered yet. Because if we were already gathered, the Most High would give us an Ark of the Covenant back. Plus we can see that when we're gathered, we're going to be in the wilderness under the bond of the covenant. Understand? All those things those things haven't happened yet. Understand? If we were gathered, we would be in the wilderness, coming under the bond of the covenant, and we would be in our homeland. Understand? We're right here.
Look, there's also a doctrine saying that Hamashiach already came.
We just read Revelation 1 and 7, all eyes would have seen him.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And Thessalonians, he come with a shout.
Yep.
So coming in here, he came with a shout, how come nobody heard? You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying, how come we didn't see him? We didn't see, we didn't hear him. So how do you come back? Oh man. They don't want to hear what he says in Isaiah 63. Give me that.
Yes, sir.
Tap it up for that.
What percent?
63 verse 15.
Yes, sir.
The strength of the Lord shall be many.
Yeah. Oh, you mean 65 verse 16?
63.
The strength of the Lord shall be many. It is
65?
Yeah, 65 verse 16.
Okay.
Yep. Verse 15, right? 66, 15, yeah. The book of Isaiah, chapter 66 and verse 15. For behold, the other one will come with fire, and with his chariots. Yes, sir. Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire.
See that? The Lord, the Mashiach will come with fire. Where was the fire? For those who say it came already, where was the fire? If it came already, you would have seen the fire. Read on.
And with his chariots like a whirlwind.
And with his chariots. Did you see the chariots? Did you see the chariots? Like the whirlwind. Read on.
To render his anger with fury.
To render his anger with fury. And he's going to be angry. He's not coming back to make peace on earth.
And his rebuke with flames of fire.
And his rebuke with flames of fire. He's coming back to rebuke many. You know?
For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Right, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Right now we're going through, right now we're going through this pandemic or plandemic. It's like a mini plague. The most of the Mashiach, they're warming up. This COVID-19 thing, the most of them is warming up. The plagues is about to plague this earth. So it behooves you Israelites out there to get yourselves together, endure, and make yourself, worthy of his protection. Because the Most High is about to plague this earth in the worst way. What you see right now, this is just a warm-up, like a test drive. But the Most High said what? The slain of the Lord shall be many. It's coming back with fire. And that fire ain't to cook, it ain't a cookout. It's in a barbecue. It's in a feast day. You ain't gonna be in a feast day. The slain of the Most High shall be many. And that's what we're looking forward to. Because until those things happen, there ain't gonna be no redemption for us. Until that happens, we're gonna be slain here on earth by the so-called white men and the other nations. With no apology. Without even an acknowledgement of guilt from them. So we have to look forward to Mashiach coming back with clouds and fire. And clouds with fire to destroy the heathens and put us back in the position of rulership. Hashem Mashiach. Gone. Shalom Yasharala. Hashem Mashiach to water. All those in live stream, conference calls, by whatever means you are listening. To water for listening. Don't forget tomorrow, the Most High willing, the continuation of the Shabbat service at 12 noon Eastern. We're gonna have the Shabbat service. Before that, 11 o'clock a.m. we're gonna have the Hebrew class. And 12 noon Shabbat service. We'll go over the Torah portion, the Torah.
Yeah, also brothers and sisters, currently we have another channel for another school that we have in the Treasure Coast, which is Port St. Lucie, Vero Beach, and Stewart. You are welcome to, if you have people in that area, in those areas, advise them to attend the service. Also, we are going to hold service too in Lehigh Acres, which is in Lee County. We are trying to build another school in that area too. So if you have people in those areas, advise them to call Captain Kadash for Lee County. His number is 561-563-6308 for Lee County, which encompasses Fort Myers, Naples, and some of the other areas. You can call Captain Kadash 561-563-6308. They are going to hold service there in Lehigh Acres. That's it.
Come. Shalom. We're gonna close out the service. The Almighty Wakanya, the Rashalam, stand and face Jerusalem. Psalms 133. Shayar, Hama Alwa, Ladawan, Nawa, Ma, Tawa, Wama, Naayam, Shabbat, Akyam, Gam, Yakar, Kashaman, Atawa, Al, Araash, Yarar, Al, Zakwan, Haaran, Shayarar, Al, Paya, Marawak Yawar, Katal, Karamwan, Shayarar, Al, Araya, Hazayawan, Aya, Sham, Hazawa, Nahawa, Avaraka, Ayawam, Awalam, Asham, Mashiach, Yahushai, Nawada, Aman.
Psalm 133. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that went down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Most High commended the blessing, even life forever.